This moment was not pulled by mystery or chance. Something quieter brought you here. In Shaolin teaching, attention is the real gate. When awareness sharpens, the right message appears. Today is not special because of a date. It is special because your mind was still enough to notice. Many pass through days asleep, ruled by habit, noise, and urgency. Few arrive at a moment like this with presence intact. That is why this matters. In this video, I will guide you through a lesser-spoken truth from Shaolin discipline. Not a promise of reward, not a sign from the sky, but a recognition of readiness. You will learn how ancient training views moments like this, why attention is more powerful than belief, and how inner order quietly reshapes outer life. There is a reason monks trained for years in silence before speaking a single word. There is a reason discipline was valued above emotion. Awareness, once awake, changes direction without force. Stay until the end, subscribe the channel, and share this video to your loved ones, because one day this channel, with the will of God, made your lives easier than ever. Because the final lesson reveals why clarity often arrives before life tests resolve, and why many lose it moments later. This knowledge was never hidden, yet rarely seen, because it demands responsibility instead of comfort. As I share this path, reflect calmly. Notice the breath. Notice the stillness behind sound. That stillness is the teacher. This is not motivation. This is training. When congratulations are spoken here, they are not offered for what you gained, but for what you are now willing to carry. In the Shaolin way, reward does not come wrapped in comfort. It arrives as responsibility. Many think success is counted in money, status, or recognition. Yet in the temple, none of these were ever considered achievements. Monks were acknowledged when they showed restraint under pressure, clarity in confusion, and discipline when no one was watching. That is why congratulations sound different in this tradition. They are not applause, they are acknowledgement. To realize responsibility means understanding that your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your life. Once this is seen, there is no turning back. In training halls, students were not praised for strength alone. They were observed for consistency. A body can be trained quickly. A mind resists order. When clarity appears, it brings weight. You begin to see how careless habits drain energy, how undisciplined speech creates conflict, how scattered attention weakens purpose. This awareness is not pleasant, but it is honest. And honesty is the foundation of mastery. Self-discipline is not punishment, it is alignment. When the mind is clear, effort becomes simple. Choices become quieter. The noise of wanting fades. This is why awakening is considered an achievement greater than victory. Luck fades, wealth changes, responsibility remains. In ancient times, a student who recognized their own flaws without excuse was seen as closer to mastery than one who won battles, because clarity creates correction, correction creates strength, and strength, when guided, becomes peace. This is what is being recognized, not what you have, but what you are now able to govern. When words like God said are spoken in ancient traditions, they are not pointing to a voice in the sky. They are pointing to law, order, cause and effect, moving with precision. In the Shaolin understanding, truth does not announce itself. It reveals itself through consequence. When the mind is scattered, life reflects disorder. When intention is unclear, results become unstable. This is not punishment, it is balance correcting itself. Long before philosophy was written, monks observed patterns. They saw that disciplined breath steady thought guided action, and aligned action changed outcomes. No belief was required, only attention. This is why inner alignment was treated as sacred, not because it was mystical, but because it was reliable. A student who trained daily without complaint gained strength. A student who neglected basics lost form. The law never adjusted for preference. It responded only to consistency. When alignment appears within, life responds without emotion. Opportunities sharpen. Resistance lessens. Decisions become lighter. This response is often misunderstood as blessing or luck. Yet it is simply order recognizing order. In ancient halls, teachers rarely explained this with words. They allowed students to experience it. Those who resisted discipline met struggle. Those who accepted responsibility found clarity, not because they were chosen, but because they were prepared. This is the quiet truth behind universal law. The same principle moves seasons, shapes rivers, and guides growth. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is random. When effort is sincere and direction is clear, results follow naturally. This understanding removes fear and expectation. It places power back where it belongs, not in belief, but in practice, not in hope, but in alignment. And once this is seen, life is no longer negotiated with, it is worked with. A day by itself is empty. It carries no command, no promise, no warning. Sun rises, sun sets, yet the human mind looks for meaning, and in doing so, gives time its weight. In ancient training, this was understood clearly. Dates were never honored for power, but for pause. When attention stops on a moment like January 9th, something subtle happens. Routine loosens its grip. The mind lifts its head from repetition. Most lives are lived on autopilot. Days stacked without awareness. Actions repeated without reflection. Discipline begins the moment this rhythm is interrupted. In monasteries, bells did not ring to mark luck or fortune. They rang to stop movement, to call awareness back. That pause was considered more valuable than hours of activity. Growth does not arrive through motion alone. It arrives through noticing. When the mind pauses, it sees patterns, how mornings begin, how energy is wasted, how reactions repeat. This seeing is uncomfortable, but it is honest. And honesty creates choice. Ancient masters taught that time does not shape us, attention does. A single moment of clarity can redirect years of habit. This is why stopping on a date is useful, not because the date holds power, but because the pause creates space. Space allows intention. Intention invites discipline. Without pause, discipline becomes force. With pause, it becomes understanding. When awareness steps forward, the mind regains authorship. Actions stop being automatic. They become deliberate. This is where mastery starts, not in waiting for signs, but in creating stillness. The calendar continues forward regardless, but the one who learns to pause within time learns to guide their path instead of being carried by it. Mastery does not begin with effort, it begins with sight. In Shaolin training, students were never rushed to change themselves. First, they were taught to observe how the body moves, how the breath shortens under pressure, how the mind escapes discomfort. Without clear seeing, discipline becomes imitation. Habits repeat because they are unseen. When awareness sharpens, behavior naturally shifts. This is why silence was valued more than instruction. In stillness, patterns reveal themselves. A restless leg exposes impatience. A wandering thought reveals avoidance. These are not flaws to judge, but signals to study. Ancient teachers knew that forcing change before understanding creates resistance. Clarity dissolves resistance on its own. When you listen calmly now, without reaching for distraction, something is already training. Attention is staying where it usually flees. This is the first gate. Not strength, not knowledge, presence. Monks trained for years just to stabilize this quality, because once awareness is steady, habits lose their grip. The mind stops reacting blindly. Choice appears where compulsion once lived. This is quiet work. No one applauds it, yet it reshapes everything. Discipline grows naturally from seeing, not from punishment. When you recognize how often you rush, you slow down. When you notice how emotion drives speech, silence becomes possible. Nothing is forced. It simply becomes unnecessary. This is why mastery looks simple from the outside, but inside it is the result of deep observation. If you are here now, listening without urgency, you are not waiting to begin. You are already practicing. Freedom is often misunderstood as permission. Permission to act, to indulge, to follow desire wherever it pulls. Yet ancient discipline teaches the opposite. True freedom is the ability to choose without being dragged. In training halls, students quickly learn that impulse is not instinct. It is habit wearing urgency. When the body is tired, the impulse says stop. When the ego is touched, the impulse says react. When comfort is offered, the impulse says take. Mastery begins by standing still in these moments, not suppressing, not fighting, but observing. This is why daily training was never optional. Motivation was considered unreliable. It rises and falls like weather. Discipline remains. Those who trained only when inspired stayed beginners. Those who trained when energy was low built depth. Congratulations, in this tradition, are reserved for that quiet commitment. The one who returns to practice without excitement, without reward, without praise. Ancient masters often assigned simple, repetitive tasks to test this quality, not to strengthen the body, but to reveal the mind. Restlessness surfaced, resistance appeared, and through that resistance, clarity formed. Each time an impulse was seen and not obeyed, a small space opened. In that space, choice grew. Over time, this space became stability. Stability became freedom. Not freedom from rules, but freedom from being ruled. This is why impulse mastery is considered liberation. Desires lose urgency. Emotions lose control. Action becomes intentional. When motivation fades and practice continues, something deeper takes over. Identity shifts. Training is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are. Practice does not begin when you sit down. It begins when you stand up. In ancient training, meditation was never separated from life. It was carried into movement, speech, and silence alike. A student was observed not only in stillness, but in how they entered the room, how they held a bowl, how they responded when corrected. These moments revealed more than hours of seated practice. Walking became training for balance, eating became training for restraint, speaking became training for awareness. Nothing was casual, not because life was rigid, but because attention was alive. Shaolin wisdom teaches that enlightenment is not a distant state reached through escape. It is refined through repetition in the ordinary. When actions are done consciously, they lose excess. Speed softens, waste disappears. A hurried step reveals impatience. A careless word exposes ego. These are not failures, they are teachers. Discipline grows quietly through correction, not judgment. This is why routines were kept simple. Complexity distracts, simplicity reveals. When awareness is present, even rest becomes practice. The body recovers better. The mind settles faster. Life stops pulling in many directions. Instead of chasing insight, insight appears naturally. This approach removes the illusion that wisdom belongs only to monks or moments of silence. It belongs to anyone willing to pay attention. A single mindful breath while working can be more powerful than an hour of distracted meditation. Over time, this consistency shapes character. Responses become measured. Emotions lose sharp edges. Presence becomes the default. This is how awakening is built. Quietly, daily, in places where no one is watching. Many look outward for confirmation. A signal to continue. A sign to stop. Something to remove doubt and guarantee safety. In ancient training, this habit was gently dismantled. Seeking reassurance was seen as a way to avoid responsibility, not out of weakness, but uncertainty. Shaolin teaching points in another direction. When life offers you responsibility, it is not burdening you, it is trusting you. Growth is never handed to those who wait for permission. It is placed in the hands of those ready to carry weight. In the temple, students were given tasks without explanation. Sweeping floors, repeating forms, holding silence. No praise followed, no reassurance arrived. The task itself was the message. If you could show up consistently, awareness deepened. If you resisted, the resistance became the lesson. This is how signs were understood. Not as events, but as obligations. When a challenge appears, it is not asking for belief. It is asking for response. Responsibility sharpens the mind. It forces choice. It demands presence. Comfort dulls these qualities. This is why mastery often grows in quiet pressure rather than excitement. To be trusted with growth means life sees potential beyond current form. That trust is not gentle. It is precise. Each responsibility reveals where discipline is missing, where attention escapes, where excuses hide. Yet within that exposure is respect. You are being treated as capable, not protected, not spared. The highest recognition is not relief, but expectation. When this is understood, signs are no longer chased. Work is accepted. the path becomes clear, not because fear disappears, but because responsibility has replaced hesitation. True clarity emerges not from controlling the world, but from aligning what is within. In Shaolin training, much effort was spent on synchronizing mind, body, and intention. The body moves naturally when the mind is steady. The mind focuses naturally when intention is clear. When these elements converge, confusion that once clouded judgment begins to fade. Choices no longer shout. They arrive softly, yet carry certainty. A step is taken without hesitation, a word spoken without excess, an action performed without doubt. Masters observed that those who sought to change the outside first often stumbled. The world resists chaos, but it also mirrors inner disorder. Only when the self is disciplined can circumstances be met with ease rather than reaction. In the halls of training, students were tested not through victory, but through stability under shifting conditions. The wind could howl, the ground could slip. Yet the one whose posture, breath, and focus aligned remained centered. This is the principle that mastery begins within. External events are merely reflections. When clarity is present, decisions carry weight without effort. Impulses no longer dictate movement. Friction with others softens, and actions harmonize with outcome. Ancient wisdom teaches that mastery is not conquest, but coherence. A soldier may wield strength, but without inner control, strength becomes danger to self. A mind untrained in stillness cannot navigate turbulence. A body unpracticed cannot execute intention. Only when alignment exists do choices gain precision and results gain resilience. This is why all Shaolin practice begins with the self, awareness, discipline, and presence. Mastery of circumstance follows naturally, like calm water reflecting the sky. Until the inner order is found, external efforts are scattered, incomplete, and often wasted. The lesson is quiet but profound. Govern yourself first, and life aligns in response. Clarity is fragile. It arrives unannounced, like the first light slipping over a mountain ridge, and fades if not embraced. In Shaolin practice, students were taught to recognize these moments as opportunities, not luxuries. Inspiration cannot be summoned on demand, yet presence can be applied immediately. A fleeting insight, a sudden understanding, carries no weight until it is acted upon. Discipline is the bridge between awareness and change. When the mind is clear, hesitation is the enemy. Even a single deliberate action taken while attention is sharp can anchor understanding for days, weeks, or even a lifetime. In the training halls, monks repeated small movements with painstaking care, knowing that perfection is built incrementally. Each correct step, each mindful breath, is a seed planted in the body and mind. If ignored, the moment dissolves, and clarity retreats into the background of distraction. The mind will wander, emotion will interfere, and opportunity will appear lost. Yet the one who moves with precision in the present transforms the ephemeral into habit. Growth does not come from waiting for motivation, excitement, or grand revelation. It comes from meeting insight with action, from honoring the brief window where attention shines without effort. This is why practice, even in its smallest form, is sacred. A measured word spoken, a calm response given, a breath taken consciously. These are not trivial acts. They are the imprint of clarity, the proof that discipline responds to awareness. Over time, these small acts accumulate, forming the foundation of mastery. Life will continue to offer signals, but none will be repeated exactly. The one who understands this acts now, knowing that the future depends less on chance than on the choices made when understanding appears. In the quiet halls of training, waiting is never a virtue. Shaolin practitioners understood that proof comes after practice, not before. The mind often searches for confirmation, a signal that effort will be rewarded, that patience will be justified. Yet in mastery, no assurance is given. Results follow silently, often long after the work is done. The true test is not in immediate outcome, but in steadfast repetition. Each day, each form, each breath taken with attention is a lesson in trust. Trust not in fate or fortune, but in the process itself. Beginners often grow restless when signs do not appear. They seek validation outside themselves. Masters, however, cultivate patience within. They know that strength built slowly is enduring. A single strike practiced 1,000 times becomes instinct, while a strike performed once with expectation remains empty. This principle extends beyond the halls. Life rewards those who prepare quietly, who act consistently, and who do not demand proof at every step. Patterns unfold only to the observant. In discipline, repetition becomes evidence of progress. The mind learns that effort itself is the measure, not recognition. This is why Shaolin teaching emphasizes daily training, even when inspiration wanes and the results seem invisible. The habit of showing up strengthens more than skill alone. It shapes character, sharpens awareness, and steadies the spirit. Over time, what was once uncertain becomes reliable. The student learns that life does not announce favor in dramatic signs. Life responds to alignment, to persistence, to clarity applied continuously. Trust grows quietly, like a river carving stone. By acting first, by training without demand, mastery becomes inevitable. The practitioner discovers that patience and repetition hold more power than hope, more power than fear, more power than any signal the world might offer. This message is not about the date, luck, or prediction. It is about presence, awareness, arriving when the mind is ready to receive it. Congratulations are not a reward for what has been done, but a recognition of readiness, a signal that a new beginning has arrived. Mastery does not start with circumstances or signs, it starts within. Through steady discipline, mindful attention, and taking responsibility for even the smallest actions, ordinary moments transform into practice. Life responds naturally when the mind is clear, intentional, and aligned. Each day offers countless opportunities to act with awareness, to choose calm over reaction, and to strengthen the self quietly. Begin now in simple ways and allow these small acts of attention to ripple outward, shaping the life you wish to live. Let this understanding guide your steps with patience and presence, without rushing or seeking confirmation. May each day become a place to practice clarity, restraint, and conscious action. Thank you for joining this reflection. If this message resonates, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Heng Yi Chronicles and continue walking the path of self-mastery with us.